Hello, this is No Soundbites Allowed, and I am your host, Michael Voss, Dragon of the Southern Tier. I'm happy to be here with you today to share with you some very important information that is being suppressed at this moment. There is news that is going to affect the lives of over 160 million Americans. In fact, I would say even all Americans that you are not being told about, that is being suppressed at this time, and it will affect many people's lives, and you need to know about this. Now, before we get to that, I do want to say as well, if this is the first time that you are joining us on our channel, we want to welcome you and we want to thank you. We know that we are currently under fire from YouTube. We've had one of our videos removed. We've been given a warning. So we may not have a lot of time left as a channel before we become unpersoned by YouTube and the other internet overlords. So we thank you for joining us. We want you to know that we do long-form political commentary on this channel. In addition, every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we go live. We do a live stream with you, talking to you on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, on DLive, essentially all the social media that the internet overlords will allow, to reach out to everyone in the world to hear your voice, because we believe in the First Amendment. We believe in free speech because it's an inalienable right of everyone in the world, even if many governments don't agree, even if the internet overlords don't agree. So we ask you to join us every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to send us your tweets, your chats, and your phone calls, and to let us know what you think about the issues that affect us all across the globe. Now, for the issue for today is something that we've been talking about for a very long time. For more than a decade, we have been providing commentary and videos and speeches about this issue, and it's been going, well, relatively unseen. We've been told by the news media that it's not true. We've been told by politicians, don't worry, it's not a big deal. In fact, most recently, on July 21st, just yesterday, we were told by the Biden administration, from Joe Biden himself, what they're planning to do to protect us. That's right, the government is looking to protect us, which means you're about to lose some freedom, you're going to lose rights, you're going to lose the ability to protect yourself. So let me explain what I'm talking about, because you may not recall that yesterday on CNN, there was a town hall in the state of Ohio, in Cincinnati. And at this event, you may have thought, if you saw it on TV, if you watched CNN, and I know not many people are anymore, but if you did look at their coverage, you would have seen a full audience. Except if you were part of the news media at the event, like Jennifer Epstein, who is a White House reporter for Bloomberg News, she took a photo at 8:21 p.m. from the event, live at the event, and there is more than half the audience missing. In fact, if you go to the New York Post for today, talking about the event, you'll see that Steve Herman, who is also a blue check on Twitter, also took a photo of the event while it was going on, also at 8:43 p.m., showing more than half the audience was missing. In fact, if you were watching from CNN, you would have seen this on the show. It's a matter of theatrics that were being done.
Back here, 2 minutes.
It kind of shows you what's going on. The American people were being played for fools. There was theatrics going on. The crowd was pushed together and pushed to the front, and CNN purposefully made sure that they would crop the image so you wouldn't see how many people were actually there, to make you think that Joe Biden, who received 80 million votes, who is supposed to be the most popular president elected ever, that he had an audience that was attentive and full, that he was getting the same kind of crowds that we see President Trump get now. Well, that's important because at this event that very few people were seeing, something was said, something important was said, and it affects your rights and your freedoms. In fact, if you were to look up the term right now and you were to go into the Google trend and look up gun control, what you're going to see is something that's actually shocking. I want you to see this clearly. This graph goes from July 26th of 2020 until today, until the 24th of July. Today is July 22nd. And you can see that the trend on gun control has been trending down. Not because there's less interest among gun owners, but most likely less interest in the news media of telling you what's going on. In fact, Wyoming, Montana, South Dakota, West Virginia, and Idaho are the states that have the most interest. And most of that's focused on Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, who is very active in Congress in trying to pass legislation like H.R. 127 to stop you from being able to protect yourself and your family. But it doesn't end there, because if you go to handgun, another very big issue, because of what happened on July 21st at CNN's town hall, you'll see there has been a steady drop-off of interest from July 26th of 2020 to this day. And again, the big states are Wyoming, Tennessee, Indiana, Montana, and North Dakota. And what are people worried about here? As you can see, and I'll move myself over again so that you can see this clearly, the big topics, people are worried about either being able to get a firearm or how do they get a license for a firearm. And you may wonder, why is this important? And we're talking about the Second Amendment. Why is this such a big deal? What could have happened? Well, if you put in Biden, and I'm going to do this live for you while we're doing the video so you can see this for yourself. If you type in Biden 9mm, and you'll see that interest over the last year has been barely there. In fact, since January 31st, it's been down. And if we look at it most recently, we see that Texas, Florida, Ohio, where the CNN town hall took place, and California are the 4 states that are actually concerned at this moment. And there's almost no interest other than what types of guns and ammunition. People are worried about the ammo and what guns they can get that they can get ammo for. Now you're going to say to me, Mike, why is this important? What is going on with the Second Amendment? What did Joe Biden say about 9mm that has interest? Why are you talking about handguns? Because we know all of the gun control in the United States, it's for assault weapons. Excuse me, folks. It's for assault weapons. It's for rifles, these automatic rifles, right? No, that's not true. That's not real. First of all, assault weapons, that would be a machine gun, which is legal in the United States. Over 700,000 people actually own machine guns in the United States at this very moment. So that's not true. And just like when Joe Biden said, there has always been restrictions, that's not true. Even at the beginning of our nation, you could own a cannon. You could own a machine gun. Yes, they existed back at the beginning of our nation. So what is going on? What's changing? What's the big deal today? Well, the big deal is what Joe Biden said at this event. He said, and I'm quoting, "I'm the only guy that ever got passed legislation when I was a senator to make sure we eliminated assault weapons. Again, machine guns are legal, but the average American citizen cannot get them. You need a special federal license for a machine gun. 700,000 Americans do." That's not what he's talking about. He means a rifle. Biden goes on to say, "The idea you need a weapon that can have the ability to fire 20, 30, 40, 50, 120 shots from that weapon, whether it's a 9mm pistol or whether it's a rifle, is ridiculous. I'm continuing to push to eliminate the sale of those things, but I'm not likely to get that done in the near term. You should be terrified. You should be upset. 160 million people should be paying attention to this story. It's a story that, yes, Town Hall is covering. Yes, we know Daily Wire has covered it. But the New York Times, the New York Post, Washington Examiner, the Washington Post, LA Times, they're not talking about this. This isn't a big deal. They don't want people to have a conversation about this because it's gun control. And it's the ultimate form of gun control. And it's the ultimate violation of the American people. Now, you may remember, we've been talking about gun control and the promises that are being made by politicians to the American people going back over a decade. In fact, we had a video on December 18th of 2012 when we were talking about the New York SAFE Act before it was passed by Governor Cuomo in the middle of the night. And we were detailing how that will not make people safe. Governor Cuomo promised that if you passed the New York SAFE Act, that would stop criminals and criminals with deadly intent and the criminally insane from harming average citizens. And all it would cost you is your legal right to own a firearm, to be able to restrict you from being able to protect yourself and your family. It was in 2013 that we were speaking with then Binghamton Mayor Matt Ryan, and we asked him a very important question about gun control and how it's going to affect the lives of citizens, not only in New York, but across the country. And this is what happened. If everything was passed, would that stop an event, say, like the Binghamton shootings, which I know you personally did everything you could about, and we spoke about it at that time.
Right.
Or the San Antonio shootings, or 80% of other firearm shootings.
Well, I do believe that, the big thing here is that, yes, some of these people have gotten their guns legally, but one of the provisions is, do they need such big magazine clips? Intervening in there's been some very heroic people without guns have prevented more carnage by going after a perpetrator. If a perpetrator has to reload. And there you go. What was the answer to the question? Let me make sure it was very clear for you. We asked Mayor Matt Ryan a simple question. If everything that Mayor Bloomberg, the mayors against guns, what he himself, Matt Ryan, everything they wanted on gun control, if we passed it, would it stop the mass shootings that we had seen in Binghamton and across the country? And he didn't answer the question. He avoided it. Because the answer is no, it wouldn't stop. It wouldn't stop criminals with an intent to cause harm. It wouldn't stop the criminally insane. They're not there to stop those things. And he said, oh, well, it's because people have very big clips. You know what a clip is? A magazine clip for a gun? This will tell you how much some of the people who are trying to stop you from owning a firearm, what they really know. A clip loads a magazine. A magazine is what holds the bullets. They don't even know anything about the firearms they're trying to stop. He wants to stop people from having clips. Clips hold bullets. They don't actually go into a firearm. They have nothing to do with a firearm being loaded or not and how many rounds it may hold. And they want to tell you that, well, it's about trying to save someone's life, because if you're close enough, you can save someone's life. That's been debunked so many times. You have about a second and a half for these criminals to be able to reload and continue to fire. It takes a good person with a firearm, as we have shown many times on this program, over and over again. When someone has a firearm and is trained and is able to react, they stop these events and they limit the number of people who get killed. And they don't stop. These criminals don't stop. Even most recently in 2021 in Colorado, they don't stop until someone, whether it's a police officer or a citizen that is armed, they do not stop the killing until they run out of bullets or they are stopped by those armed individuals. But that's the lie that we were told in 2013. What about 2016? We spoke at the Second Amendment, the Bring Back America Festival in Norwich, talking about the importance of the Second Amendment and protecting it as these politicians are trying to take it away from us. It was in April of 2018 when we were talking about what would happen if America actually repealed the Second Amendment, as was popular among many of the socialists and the progressives in America. They were passing around this idea that we need to repeal the Second Amendment. What would happen? You wouldn't be very happy with that result. It was in May of 2019 when we highlighted Senator Cory Booker in his attempt to become the nominee for the Democratic Party, identified how he wanted to have a 5-year gun license. He wanted to make sure that you were not able to own a firearm and that everyone would have to submit to a 5-year license, that the government would control who could and could not be armed and be able to defend themselves and their families. You know what? It was in September of 2019 when then candidate, what's his name again? Beto O'Rourke. When Beto O'Rourke made the wonderfully ignorant statement that people brought assault weapons to a rally at Kent State, you know what? It was the government that brought firearms to Kent State and had the Kent State massacre. Again, this is where we're seeing revisionist history, where many of these progressives are trying to change history, to change the way the average American thinks in an attempt to try and disarm them, to take away your ability to protect yourself. But we were told over and over again that you don't need this, that this is too dangerous for you because you can't handle these firearms like an AR-15. In fact, it was Representative Sheila Jackson Lee who told us that it fired a 50 caliber bullet, that it was too heavy to hold. It felt like 10 boxes. It was dangerous and damaging. And then there was Cheyenne Roberts on CNN. She was showcased by CNN News as she fired the AR-15, an expert marksman. And the ammunition, by the way, for the AR-15 is this one here, the .223. That's the 50 caliber. Entirely different things. Why? Because these politicians lied to us. They misled us. And it didn't stop there. Because again, I want to go back to Politifact. On November 25th, 2019, the NRA, National Rifle Association, told us that Joe Biden wants to ban 9mm pistols. Yeah, that thing that we just did a search for on Google Trends. The thing that no one's noticing here, that isn't being talked about across this country. And it was Politifact that came out and said on March 18th of 2020, and said, no, this is false. It's not true. Joe Biden doesn't want to ban 9mm pistols. He doesn't want to go after handguns. That he's only going after high caliber magazines, large capacity magazines, and in AR-15s and rifles, semi-automatic rifles. They guaranteed this. They told this. Politifact, one of the sources that people look to, that Facebook likes to ban people for. In fact, Facebook was actively banning people based on this news from Politifact. Debunking, and as I said, the post was flagged as part of Facebook's effort to combat false news and misinformation on its news feed. That's right. Politifact was working with Facebook and social media to deny this claim and to leave you in the dark. So what happened with that? Well, it turns out that Joe Biden did, in fact, want to take your firearm. Again, I want you to hear this. Read this again. The idea that you need a weapon can have the ability to fire 20, 30, 40, 50, 120 shots from that weapon, whether it's a 9mm pistol or whether it's a rifle. It's ridiculous. I'm continuing to push to eliminate the sale of those things. He said it clear as day on CNN. That's what Joe Biden said. That means he's going after 9mm handguns. He's going after handguns. And in fact, he's going after every firearm, because any firearm, he said, the ability to fire 20 rounds. Well, guess what? Every firearm, every semi-automatic handgun, every semi-automatic rifle has that ability. And those are the most common firearms. He wants you to go back to muskets. He wants you to go back to having single pot fire guns like your Jack Sparrow in the Pirates of the Caribbean movie. This should be devastating, and this should be terrifying, because it's happening at the same time that we see Representative Sheila Jackson Lee. Yeah, she's back again. And she's trying to pass H.R. 127, a bill that will make sure that women and the poor and minorities absolutely cannot get a firearm, that they cannot defend themselves. This is happening at the same time that we see record numbers of gun deaths. We see homicides that are skyrocketing across the nation, because in the 22 cities that defunded the police, there's nothing to stop the criminals and the criminally insane from harming you. In fact, Joe Biden, and along with Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, they're in the process right now of trying to make sure that women. I have a friend of mine down in Florida. She wants to protect herself. She got a firearm. She got her license. She got trained. And you know what? Sheila Jackson Lee and Joe Biden, they want to make sure that she's defenseless. How many women will not be able to protect their families? How many men and women will be unable to stop the criminals and the criminally insane if they continue to go forward? We have been telling you this for over a decade, that they are coming for your firearms, not just assault weapons, whatever that may be, not just semi-automatic rifles. They want to take away everything you have. This is one of the biggest topics we've been covering on this channel for over a decade. And we want to tell you, it's clear now. There is no question. The proof is in the pudding. In case you're wondering, here is the transcript of here's the question that Joe Biden was asked. How will you address gun violence from a federal point of view to actually bring about change and make our local cities safer? And the reason why the question is, that's what's actually going to make a difference. Remember, it was under the Obama administration that Joe Biden, as vice president, was put in charge of creating the framework for 23 executive orders passed by Barack Obama to stop mass shootings. And within a week of that being done, there was a mass shooting at the federal naval yards. They haven't stopped anything. Red flag laws haven't stopped anything. In Colorado this year, where there already exists red flag laws, you know what? There was also a mass shooting because a criminal wanted to kill innocent civilians. And so Joe Biden, as you can see in the transcript, and you can read it in the description below, but it's very clear. And I want you to see it. So it's not just one news media source that's printing this. And he says, as you know, there's, because you're involved, and you got to hear this. Biden says, to answer this woman's question, now I'm not being a wise guy. There's a reason you have seen my gun violence legislation I've introduced, which does nothing to stop criminals. It stops innocent, law-abiding citizens. As you know, because you're so involved, actually crime is down. Crime is not down. That is a lie. We have how many stores? 19, I believe it's 19 Walmarts in San Francisco have shut down because of the looting, the widespread looting. We see violent crimes, repeat crimes because of the bail reform in New York State. We see violent, that's besides this, talking about the gun crime that's happening. And in fact, Joe Biden goes on to mention gun violence and murder rates are up. Guess what, Joe Biden? That's crime. Gun violence and murder are crimes. And you're telling us that crime is down? He contradicts himself within a sentence. It's the very next sentence. Guns. As if guns are the problem. It's the criminals that are the problem. It's the way the criminals are using guns and knives. By the way, knife crime is up in the United States. Murder by hand is up in the United States. And they dwarf the number of people who have been killed by rifles. I'm the only guy that ever got passed legislation when I was a senator to make sure we eliminated assault weapons. The idea you need a weapon that can have the ability to fire 20, 30, 40, 50, 120 shots from that weapon, whether it's a 9mm pistol or whether it's a rifle, is ridiculous. I'm continuing to eliminate the sale of those things, but I'm not likely to get that done near term. Thank God. He's made it very clear. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Crime is down. Oh, by the way, murder's up. Almost exponentially in some cities. Oh, gun violence, it's up. Murder by hands, murder by knives, they're up. We see skyrocketing crime. We see looting and robberies going through the roof. But, crime is down. Are we sure Joe Biden knows what he's talking about? Where is he getting his data from? Why is the news media not questioning him on this? And then he goes on to say, oh, well, we have to stop people from having firearms that can fire. Well, how is that supposed to protect anyone? If you take away the average citizen, there are 160 million people who own firearms in the United States. They own over 350 million firearms. In the last year, over 5 million people, many of them Democrats, many of them progressives, got their first firearm because they want to protect themselves, because they know that they are in danger, because the progressive and socialist movement isn't looking to stop criminals. They're looking to disarm the American people. They want you to be defenseless. And they're taking away the police at the same time, leaving you with no way to protect your family, no way for women to protect themselves. This is dangerous. This only results in what we've already seen in 2020, what we see in 2021, in the 5-6 months that Joe Biden has been in office. We have seen a skyrocketing, a problem that is growing bigger by the day because his policies are ineffective, because his goal is not crime, it's the American citizen. It's your freedom and your rights. We've been telling you this for a long time. And now we have YouTube on our back. They're deleting some of our videos. They're giving us warnings and they're looking to give us a strike. They're trying to silence us. We're not the only ones that are being silenced, not by the least. In fact, there's even another group, the First Liberty Foundation, a pro-Second Amendment foundation. They said stifle. They told someone to stifle themselves in an argument. The word stifle means shut up. And Twitter removed them. Why? Because they said stifle, and that's a dangerous thing to say. That was an assault. That was encouraging someone to kill themselves. That's what Twitter says. Yeah, they're coming after us. It's not just the big names, it's you and me. Over 1 million people have been removed between Twitter and Facebook. They're silencing us, and just like I showed you, the news media is not telling you what's going on. They're not publishing the stories. They're ignoring this. They're too busy trying to make sure that they can peddle their theatrics and gimmicks to make you think something is true when it is an abject lie. They're telling you things that obviously the NRA was right. Politifact was wrong. Facebook used that information to be able to remove people from social media and to silence their voices so that American citizens wouldn't be able to protect themselves. And we have the evidence. It is a fact. I want the Politifact to check me now. I want Facebook and YouTube. You want to go and fact check me? Here's the facts. This is what Joe Biden said. This is what Democrats have been saying for decades, and they have been lying to the American people. And I say to you, if you like this, if you found this to be informative, please like this, share this, but most of all, subscribe. Protest the actions of Facebook, of YouTube, of the social media internet overlords in trying to silence your voice. Please subscribe so that we can reach more people before they finally delete our voice, as they have begun that process now. Before they can silence us on this channel, please subscribe, share this, and let people know that you are being lied to actively. And the news media knows it. And they are too busy to do theatrics than to tell you what's actually happening. We hope we informed you today about something that you probably didn't know happened. And we hope that you'll reach out to your senators, to your representatives in Congress, to your local representatives, and tell them, stop picking on law-abiding citizens. Go after the criminals and the criminally insane. Stop making us victims. We're Americans. Treat us with some respect. But we look forward to hearing what you have to say about this. We thank you, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.